These little white sharks are literally right off our beaches. Those of you that have lived in this area, go out on the water a lot, have probably seen them yourselves. So we do know that they're beach babies. This is a picture taken by Randy White of a little white shark jumping off Will Rogers. So when we're out doing our targeted fishing sometimes, we're working with the aquarium, we have a spotter playing up. Will Rogers State Beach is literally right here. These are 2 stand-up paddle boarders. How many baby white sharks do you see? Okay, there's 5. That's kelp. That's just kelp. So in an area, maybe the size, a little bit bigger than a football field, we have 5 baby white sharks, literally just outside the break. This is, as many of you know, is not an uncommon phenomenon in Santa Monica Bay. What we have seen in the last few years is kind of some shifts going on, and we don't really understand. So about 5 or 6 years ago when we started, many of the sharks that we were seeing were down off Will Rogers and Malibu side. And for the last 5 years, it's been Manhattan Beach and El Porto. So there seems to be some shuffling around. We're not really sure why. We hope to try to answer those questions, but these are the patterns that we're starting to see. So remember I told you we have our acoustic listening stations out along the coast. These are what we call bubble plots. So the bigger the bubble, the more detections per shark that we have. So our receivers off Will Rogers Beach gets a lot of detections. We tag the sharks literally right over here. This is Santa Monica Pier right there. So we have a lot of detections of a little white shark swimming literally right by Santa Monica Pier. We had these little white sharks swim all throughout Palos Verdes. We had an individual do laps throughout LA Harbor. It would go in and out of LA Harbor doing laps between Angels Gate and Queens Gate. And then typically in the winter, when our water temperatures start to drop, we've detected individuals migrating along the coast. So we've detected them on a receiver at Santa Monica Pier, or San Clemente Pier, Oceanside, all the way down to Tijuana. Our pop-off satellite tags tend to pop off down in Mexico. So we've known for the last few years that most of the sharks that we tag in Southern California migrate south in the winter. So right now, working with the lifeguards, we're putting out more acoustic receivers throughout Santa Monica Bay so we can get a better idea where sharks are moving throughout the bay. These are the receivers that I was telling you about. So these are 2 receivers at Will Rogers Beach. This is Santa Monica Pier, and here's Manhattan Beach Pier. And this figure is the number of detections we get per hour. So quite often we use this as a way of determining what time of day might sharks be coming by certain locations. So one of the things you notice here is it's really during the day that the shark is in closest by these Will Rogers receivers, and the same trends for this one. So this is the one way down in the corner by the restaurant. This one's a little further down by the beach park. You see morning. They like going to the beach in the morning when the surfers are there, right? When we get to Santa Monica Pier, we see a little different behavior. So we see something that looks more like late afternoon, maybe a spike in evening. So we're seeing different patterns. As we increase the number of these receivers have out, our goal is to be able to tease out what these sharks are doing along our coast with better resolution. Unfortunately, we haven't had the Manhattan Beach Pier out very much. It seems like it's regularly just stopping by. So at the time we had this receiver out, we now have more receivers, and we have hopefully get more sharks out. We'll get more data. We know there's more sharks coming by Manhattan. Our satellite tag data also give us an enhanced picture of what these little sharks are doing. So these are based on spot tag data. So this little shark was tagged over here off Malibu. And these detections indicate that this shark was spending most of its summer moving back and forth along our beaches, but occasionally making excursions out into the channel. We've even had some individuals go out by the Channel Islands, but turn around and come back to the beaches. By November, December, when our water temperatures start to drop, these little sharks aren't stupid. They might start migrating south and head to Baja. A vast majority of our pop-off satellite tags have popped off down about halfway down to Baja. We've had a few individuals that have gone all the way down into the Gulf, and we've had about 25% of the individuals that we've tagged with our acoustic tags that we know have migrated to Baja turn around and come back to Southern California a subsequent summer. So we know that they make that migration, and they love Southern California so much they come back. So the bottom line is we were making great progress until about 2 years ago. When the petitions went in to list white sharks as threatened or endangered, many of our permits were revoked or greatly restricted. So our research program has been basically stalled for the last 2 years. Hopefully now that both the state and federal government has voted not to list white sharks as threatened and endangered, mainly because the trend suggests the population is increasing, we're hoping we're going to get back to business. Now the great news is we have new tools to do our business. In fact, we have many of the tools needed to answer many of the questions that the public is asking about what these white sharks are doing here. So one of our new tools that we're developing are autonomous robots. Great thing about robots is that, and I say my graduate students are over there, they're more reliable than my graduate students. I don't have to pay them anything. I just plug them in the wall for 12 hours, and they're fairly reliable. They'll show up where they're supposed to be. So, but the great thing about them is they can chew gum and swim at the same time. And that's really the cool thing about these things. So basically, they have a pair of ears that listens for the acoustic tag on the shark. We can program the robots to move up and down through the water column and measure water temperature, depth, chlorophyll, light levels, all those parameters, while it's stealthily following the shark. We program the robot to follow the shark but not chase the shark. And it can accurately position the shark in 3D space and time. So by using fleets of these robots, we can have them cruise up and down along the coast and track the sharks for us. While they're doing that, they can be mapping the seafloor, they have video cameras, they have image sonar, we can record schools of fish, dolphins, all those sorts of things. So this new technology exists. We have it, we're raring to use it, we need more of it, we just need permission to get back out there and do that. In addition, we're also developing drone technology to do this. And I know this has been a bit of a debate and concern, but for scientific purposes, this can be a great tool. So our engineering department has the ability to make these little drones for us. The great thing about them is they can be fully automated and relatively cost effective. Not available. In any event, we've already used this tool to go to Catalina, and we use it for surveying for leopard sharks. Works great. So the nice thing about it is it can be fully automated. So you can literally touch a screen, put your fingers on the coordinates you want it to fly, set it in altitude, tell it what speed you want it to go. You have a little heads-up display so you can see what the camera sees, and you can literally fly transects along the beach. So this can become a non-intrusive way of surveying and looking along beaches and figuring out where the sharks, what are the conditions at this beach compared to this beach. So these are tools that we have fully developed. We're ready to use. So the bottom line, and many of you are probably for the last few years have been asking what's going on. Well, this is my opinion of what's going on. I think